within workflow, you can use all of our connectors you know and love, but we also have some workflow specific connectors, such as the Microsoft Excel connector, that when used in workflow allow you to do even more with them. You can easily send different data to your connectors using conditional pathways. A great example of this is you can have one form workflow followed by a conditional step based on if a respondent selects that they are a recurring or a new customer in the form. Then that conditional step will lead to two separate connectors that you can set up completely different from each other so that you can have a more simplified connector for those recurring customers and have a more complicated connector for those new customers so that you can add all the extra steps and information all in that connector that you need to collect from your new respondents from there. And you can also choose when to send information to a connector, depending on where in the process your respondents are. This can be done with a multi-form workflow that has a connector after each step. So you can have, say, like a 5, 7, 10-page, 10-form workflow that your respondents, it just appears as if it's one form to them, but you have a connector after each form step so that you are getting all of that data sent to whatever integration you are using, whatever connector. And so you'll have, even if it's partial data, you'll at least have some data on that respondent. So you don't have to worry about completely losing all information if a respondent doesn't finish like a form or workflow. You've got some information. Then you can choose to customize your connector's error handling, as I mentioned earlier. You can go into a connector step and choose to change that error that you see. So your respondents aren't just seeing like a generic Salesforce error. You can change it to say, hey, sorry, there was an issue, please contact so-and-so, as just like an example of how you can really customize that connector error. And all of this allows you to customize the path your data takes in the data collection process before being sent where you need it. Give me just a second for some water. And as I mentioned earlier, our brand new workflow Google Sheets connector is a workflow-specific connector that is extremely powerful. You may be familiar with our Google Sheet connectors that's on our forms, but this is a brand new connector that is being added to workflow that allows you to do even more with your Google Sheets connector. With this new Google Sheets connector, you can customize how the data is sent through your connector to your Google Sheets. And you can also pull data from multiple forms in your workflow to use in just that one connector. So let's take a closer look at this connector in this form. Let me just share my screen. There we go. Okay, so I have that event registration form that I've gone ahead and added to the workflow, making sure I've moved over the Salesforce and HTTPS connectors because I want that same functionality to exist here in this form that exists in my regular form. So my workflow does the exact same thing. And with this, I have taken that Google Sheets connector, I've gone ahead and added it to my form. And the great thing about this is I do everything directly from the workflow builder. I don't have to have separate windows popping up. It's all right here. And I can customize how my data is sent to this with the action steps. So with the action steps, these are new options that are added to the Google Sheets connector, and I can set up different actions to do different things. So for this one, I have this first action that I am sending the information to this spreadsheet that the caterer has access to so that I can send them only the registrant's email and the dietary information and restrictions so that the caterer can quickly see what is happening for each respondent. And if they need to reach out to them for further clarification on their dietary restriction, they're doing it right from here. I can also change how the repeatable guest information is treated. So for this one, I just did it. So add a guest so that then they'll see the guest information and their related allergies in new consecutive rows so that they can keep an eye on who all is coming. Then the second action is sending to a completely different spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet is going to my event venue manager. And this spreadsheet is just basically saying what event they're registering for and how many people are a part of each party. This way, my event venue manager can get all the tables set up and make sure that each guest in every party is all sitting at the same table and not being all confused and having a lot of switch around. And that one, I don't need to worry about how the repeatables are treated. I'm just sending it as a workflow so that they see the primary respondent and then each of the guests separated by a comma in the response. And this really allows me to send that data to both of those people that I need to automatically. I no longer have to worry about going into Salesforce later and editing that information to then send. I just have it all sent automatically, which is perfect. And the new use of this Google Sheets connector just really allows me to take more of that back-end process off of my plate.